Morning. Do any of you actively practice meditation independent of satsang? I remember when I first started practicing meditation, I was about 11 or 12 years old. And I didn't know what the fuck to do. Then later on, I guess I practiced meditation as a teenager sometimes. But my life changed when I went to Mount Baldy in California. And that's when I started learning real meditation. See, I've always been sort of an egghead, a reader. I love science. I love paranormal stuff and psychology and spirituality. I loved Ramana, but I didn't know what the hell he was talking about. But when you practice Zen, at least the kind of Zen I practiced, which is with Sasaki Roshi, it was very difficult. He taught me, who was completely engaged in my mind, that what I've been doing all my life, not only in attempts at meditation, but just living, depending so much on my brain, my education, telling me that that way of living was fucked. And it is. Meditation really doesn't depend on the brain or on the mind. And what you sit for, I guess, depends on who your teacher is and what you think you should be doing. But the highest form of meditation, from my point of view, is doing nothing, sitting and doing nothing. Now, that's real hard to do because even at the beginning, you're going to have to learn to focus your mind and get away from thinking. So you're going to spend some energy learning how to not think and to focus without words. And it's taken me a long time to get to a place where I thought meditation was that valuable. But it's valuable in the sense of getting away from dependence on the mind and instead learn to give up everything, get rid of everything. Get rid of your hang-ups, get rid of your beliefs, get rid of focusing on the mind, get rid of focusing with the mind. And really Learn how to be nothing, to do nothing, except, of course, play with your cat. That's a requirement. Or dog. But it's hard to play with the dog when he's licking your face. Cats are easier. So sitting, doing nothing, and just being aware of what's around you. It's very hard because you have to give up thought. You have to give up trying too hard to accomplish something by meditation. And instead, learn to relax and to settle into your body without focusing on anything and having no words, no ideas. Just become nothing. And I guess I resisted that because I was so dependent on my mind. As a youngster, I prided myself about my intelligence and so forth. And that was a crutch for poor self-esteem, I think, but possibly. And when you practice doing nothing, you can get really hit hard by nothingness because it takes away from you what you had depended on for your security, your identity, and with however you're defined yourself as a male, female, as an employee, as interested in certain subjects. As a meditator or a monk, you have to get rid of even that. And as Sun San would say, you have to get dumb as a rock. That was his favorite saying, become dumb as a rock. You think too much. I heard that a lot, a whole lot. Become dumb as a rock. You're nothing special, you're nothingness, which is special, but in a different way. The feeling of specialness never, ever, ever is an experience when you've been practicing meditation for 30 or 40 years. You become nothing. And you begin to feel the years of accommodation you've done with the mind trying to strike a pose of being someone or something, when ultimately, when you shut the mind down, you're nothing at all. Yeah, you can name things, but the names begin to not mean anything anymore. The identities don't mean that much anymore because you're getting rid of them. You sit doing nothing and practice that for 5 or 6 hours a day. See what that does to your mind. Now, there are states that you encounter when you decide to go stupid, like Sun Sanim requires. Because when he teaches, it seemed to be filled with ideas about a unique place that you are as a Zen student. There's a pride in name like that. I'm a Zen monk, a Zen follower. I follow Taco Bell or some other guru. There's a pride in, I guess, being and doing nothing. Although most teachers don't start off teaching that with you. Otherwise, you'd stay about 5 minutes or one satsang. But you visibly watch yourself becoming stupider over the years. You don't entertain many subjects. You don't pursue them. What you do is get rid of dependence on objects or certain kind of doings or possessions, and instead focus on what your consciousness is like after you get rid of all the crap or all the attachments and become nothing. Boy, can you change then when you become nothing. When you begin to love doing nothing. It's really relaxing. On the other hand, it takes a long while to get used to doing and being nothing, because we all want to be something or another, special in a certain way, a good person, a crummy person, an educated person, a genius, a scientist, a father, a mother, all the things we might hold as being important. And instead drop that poses, because the poses are poses. And you're addressing the world like a knight in armor. And each subject matter has its own armor feel. Each way of being has its own feel. And to become nothing has a feel of its own, which is a feeling of expansion and a feeling of joy. Because the mind starts leaving, you're not focusing on things of the mind, like what to do today at 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock or for supper. What's tomorrow? What time do we get up? What skills do we practice? What missions do we go on? What do we buy? What do we not buy? What do we try? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And all of that goes away. It drops away. And you feel such a sense of freedom. And something else happens over a period of time. The repeated dunking in no mind causes something to well up in you from the deepest part of your being. Maybe part of it that you haven't been in touch with yet, even in meditation. But your focus is on other things inside of you rather than thoughts. Like the various spiritual energies one might feel practicing meditation, the different Kundalini phenomena, or just the movement of energies within your body that you can feel internally. At least many people can, many people can't. But the more you practice being mindless or thoughtless, the more easy it is to begin to feel nonverbal energies within yourself and nonverbal states of rest that you can't imagine while you're dependent on the mind. So you have to struggle with the idea of becoming mindless, thoughtless, useless, in a sense, because you're doing nothing. You're not actively helping anybody, not even yourself. You're not trying to gain anything. You're trying to lose a lot of stuff. And you sit and you learn how to sit formally, like I did at Mount Baldy. It really helps to do a sesshin in a place like that, where you have to learn to sit in cross-legged or full lotus or half lotus. I was never comfortable in full lotus. Well, I could do it, but it seemed like it was a stretch. And now there's no way I could do full lotus. I might even have a hard time doing half lotus. Mostly now I just sit and let my legs dangle over the edge of the chair, the couch, and I automatically go to the state of no mind. And by that, there isn't a sense of form anywhere. I get away from trying to know things and instead trying to get to a place of experiencing things ever more settled in myself. The more I'm quiet, the more deep self stuff arises within myself. This goes on for years. It's not an overnight accomplishment. It's an accomplishment of just persistence, because you're walking into a new world of mindlessness, and it's as profound or more profound than moving from England, for example, to South Africa or Arabia and taking up residence there. It's at least as challenging as that, to learn how to become nothing and not try to define yourself as something. Lose your identity in words and concepts. In effect, you really get out of the position that you're a human, and instead you become nothing. Not wishing anything, not expecting anything, not striving for anything, but just doing nothing. And what happens to your mind when you do nothing? Well, what happens is your experience of your consciousness is not bifurcated or trifurcated or fragmented in any way. And so many things began to lose themselves from me. The need to be center of attention. The need for people to see me as something special. The need to please anyone, including myself. And instead, getting lost in nothingness produces a sense of utter relaxation that it's hard to know what it's like without having experienced it. It's a complete resting in one's own self without a need to move or do anything. You breathe because you have to, and it doesn't bother you. And when you take a look at yourself with your mind, there's nothing there except the external world that you may see from inside yourself. If your eyes are closed all the way, it's just blackness. If it's open partially, that's integrated into nothingness. And you feel nothingness while seeing the world, and you open your eyes more fully, and you can still be in nothingness and really have nothing to say or to do except to lead other people to having an empty mind and the joy that comes from that. And once in a while, it starts arising in you, the sense of power. The life force itself inside of you. You're not the life force, but you can feel it. And it feels like you're a life force because there's nobody else around to attribute it to. It's a feeling of unsurmountable power and joy. You just want to shout out to everyone, I have come alive. I have come alive. I have come alive. And from that position, you live. And you find a joy in not being smart or intelligent or accomplished or useful. You can genuinely say, I'm useless. And that's so hard for many people, to be useless, because they want to feel as if they have a value, and they can only do that with a certain kind of being. But let go of that. Become useless. And you'll become happy. There's a happiness that arises inside of you. It seems arises out of the gut, spreads upward into the chest, the head, and into the arms. And it's the joy of being. And you have it even when you're sick. You lose it when you're angry. You lose it at other times too, like when you concentrate too much on doing a task. But become nothing. And what it does is it frees you from being a human, locked in a certain century, in a certain language, in a certain culture. And you become a universal person. And you find that all is good with you about every other person on earth. So, you know, deep down inside, they're just like you, but they have a mind that they are constantly watering and developing. It's hard to let go of that need to be something or to do something or to accomplish something when you're younger. You're greedy for knowledge and understanding and doing, I guess, to then transfer into doing nothing. Doing nothing. And finding out what absolute comforting joy comes from that. Because that's your zero state, as I would put it. And in that state, you're not focused on anything. You're certainly not focused on your body. You're not focused on meditating or focused on thinking or focused on not thinking. You're just doing nothing. You're at rest, completely at rest. And what happens then is you become the focus of attention because there's nothing distracting you to the outside world. And you begin to settle inside yourself. and to be yourself, whoever or whatever that is. And the experiences you can have are incredible, but generally they're not long lasting. You have breakthroughs where you find a deeper level of mind, where you find something dropping away in your mind. But generally, over a long period of time, what happens is you just become increasingly separate from the world. And you sit in the enjoyment of your own self at rest, while the rest of the world turns around you. And people are doing all kinds of things in the background. Your dog is barking. Your cat is maybe licking your toe or something like that, or meowing or fighting with another cat. And you're not bothered. It's just a play for you. It's just something to be watched and appreciated and rested in. And it's a place of great power, because nothing has any power over you. Not people, not your own missions for life that you had in the past. You're free of everything. And that freedom is won after quite a bit of struggle. Now, there are certain kinds of gentle people that don't have to travel 60 million miles inside their minds to get the benefit of becoming mindless. But headstrong people like me, who always wanted a mission in increasing my understanding, it was a death blow to that Ed. Now that Ed is nothing, he doesn't give a shit. Except to lead other people to the state where they can feel nothingness too, and thrive in the feeling of nothingness and the freedom of no mind inside of us. But there's nothing to be attained beyond that. This thing called enlightenment is kind of a foolish thing. It's there to get people to learn how to do nothing. They'll talk to you about the wonder state of being or doing nothing. But usually it's not said in those words. It's about becoming enlightened. And you wonder, what the fuck is enlightenment? How many of you wonder what the fuck enlightenment is, or have in the past wondered what enlightenment is? And after a while, you find there's no enlightenment. That's a fixed state of being. And the closest thing that comes to it is doing nothing and being in the zero state. And in that zero state, there's extreme expansiveness, which feels like a release from the body and the mind, and a happiness that comes with that. So what it brings you, if you bear with it for a long, long, long time, is a deep sense of happiness and a deep sense of concern for others, because you're not concerned about attaining any posts or positions. or any special states of being anymore. You're just happy being nothing. Being nothing, doing nothing allows you to rest in yourself and be the host of your own existence, because the host is clearly manifest, where before the host was buried under countless mental activities and doings and yearnings and identifications. Now you don't identify with anything. You're nothing. And as nothing, you don't have to do anything anymore. You don't have to be a monk or a doctor or a graduate student or a PhD. None of that is necessary anymore. Just fuck it. It's not important. Nothing is important except a sense of aliveness in you, which is so delicious to feel. The rush inside of you of the rising of these, I have joy. The rising of joy in you, and joy permeating everything. How many people feel this joy at all? I'll deny that I feel it because I don't want to do nothing. I don't want to do anything. I'm not even going to assert that it's a happy state or a sad state or anything else. I don't need to do that. I don't want to do that. It's a useless state. It's good for nothing. Ha ha ha. Good for nothing. Ha ha ha. And that's what you can be, good for nothing. But it doesn't matter, because the energies that arise in you, your own life force, is constantly just sort of petting you on the back or on the head. And you feel rewarded in the sense that the zero state is so absolutely happy and directionless and thoughtless. In a sense, you become useless because you don't want to participate in the world anymore. And the interesting thing is, the world begins to let you alone. You're not getting emails or phone calls anymore trying to involve you in the world or in being in a cult or making $1 million. And your whole life changes as to what's important to you. You're no longer directed to accomplish anything. But that's exactly what meditation is doing. That's the whole point of meditation, is doing and being nothing. So if you practice it long enough, your whole life can become that way, and you're unemployed, penniless, sitting in some graveyard, smoking a beedi or something like that. So then, now that you've arrived in being nothing, you can teach others how to be useless. Isn't that cool? And you can even give yourself a title because you know how meaningless it is. But it may mean something for people to get you to continue to do meditation. You know, I am always struck by the number of gurus that draw attention to themselves by being so bizarre that everybody notes it. And they publish articles about you, about how bizarre you are and how terrible you are at doing things to people. And part of that is due to the fact that a lot of teachers shouldn't be teaching. They should still be a student, practicing meditation, doing nothing. But they want to be the center of attention, or they want to remain with something to do in the world, or they want to remain as an active player in the world of experiences. But when you've had enough of life and living with an identity, such as being a carpenter or TV repairman or a cop or whatever, you consciously encounter a sense of being happy all the time. Even if you blow up and get angry at certain times, the anger is empty. It's there for show. You've used it so long, you know how to use it. But the anger isn't real. I mean, you know it's not real anymore. You just use it as a teaching tool to get somebody to scare you into doing something. But there's nowhere to go, nothing to do anymore. You're done. Your mission is completed. So just let go of all that shit and just be. And the more thoughtless you are, the better. The less directed you are, the better. Because then you can feel happy doing nothing. I think my buddy Shankarananda wrote a book that is sort of dedicated to that idea. I forget what it was called, but I think it was called Being Happy Doing Nothing. And we would think that being happy requires you to accomplish something, like in school or in a practice or in a job, to create something of value to yourself or to the world. And instead, happiness comes most often and permanently from doing nothing. Other people may become happy because of some accomplishment or because they feel they're doing something for others or some other reason. But that happiness is because of doing in the world and recognition in the world. But what if you don't care about recognition? How powerful you become. Nobody can make you do anything because you don't care. You just walk away when somebody tells you what to do. Unless you like what they're telling you to do. Because you're free from commands from outside. You don't hold anybody to be a god anymore. You yourself have discovered the highest happiness in life, which is just being. Being. And eventually even that comes to you as being something that's just added on and it's not necessary. Because what you are is beyond even beingness. What you are is untouched by concepts. You can't be described. It's encapsulated by the phrase or the words, I am. But your essential being is even deeper than I am. Who you are is the one that witnesses I am, and the I am that you become through meditation. That's still a position, a special kind of shirt or pair of pants that identifies you as a nothing seeker or something like that. But when you really find comfort in doing nothing and being nothing, the relief is overwhelming. To be set free from all that shit you've been doing all that life because you've believed others about what your place in life is. Your family teaching you the first 18 years of your life who you are and what you are and where you're going and what you want to do and get married and have a good job or become a genius inventor or something like that. But when you are truly accomplished in Zen or any kind of spiritual path that goes deep, what you can cling to and announce to everyone is that you are nothing at all and you have nothing to teach. And for all you care, you can go fuck yourself. But I hope you stay around and stay friendly. But personally, I don't need anything anymore. God, does that make you strong? The life force is yours to watch and to be with. No mind is yours to be with and to do or not to do. You're free. If you want to do something, there's no restrictions about not doing it anymore. There's no need to practice formal meditation after a while. Because you've learned meditation and it's become your life, which is to be observant of everything inside yourself. And when you do, you start feeling the energies within. And they become more and more powerful, and you can play with them and become an energy teacher, all kinds of things like that. You can even do healings like that, moving your energy and feeling other people's energies. But those that do that tend to be very arrogant about their powers because they depend too much on the feeling of being special and especially sensitive. And they teach others how to be sensitive or no-mindedness. But there's nothing special about it. Although you will feel special, even feeling special is a hindrance from total throwing away of existence and just being yourself as the primary being in your life. Now, I love you all. I just would like to have you experience some of these states. You don't have to experience the totally useless state like I feel. There are so many levels you can go through of feeling yourself and experiencing yourself until the energies take over and you follow them. And at some point, you can lose the energies because you no longer lead them and you can be nothing. And one great example is that of Robert. He was about the most useless person I ever knew. And he was happy. I remember one time he gave a satsang about all the things that were happening simultaneously. I think it was a time of an earthquake up there and apartment getting flooded from broken pipes and people running around and yelling and getting upset. There'd be a whole bunch of upset people, like Nicole can really get to you when she gets upset. She may even still be alive. She's lived a long time. But he had 2 daughters, and all 3 of them would get upset. And maybe a visitor would be upset too. And he would laugh. He wouldn't laugh at them right out loud, but he'd laugh to himself and just sort of smile, watching them all go off the deep end into confusion and fear and anger. And he was feeling none of that. He was happy being nothing. And being nothing can make you very happy. But it takes a long while to get accustomed to it. So you don't get any quick results. But even the meditation itself is a progressive letting go of things and of ideas and of identities till none of them really come to your mind, unless you try to find something you can put into words. That's why sometimes it is so hard for me to talk about a spiritual path. Because being on a path almost implies that you're doing something special to attain something. But when you've done it long enough, being nothing is a joy. And how can you teach others that being nothing is a joy, that it's a place to be? It is a place to be, but you have to give up everything. And if you heard that right from the beginning, you'd never follow this path or any other spiritual path. Because you want something. You've come to a position of wanting, of being a human being that needs to have things to live. And that's identification with your body. But if your body was being taken care of, wouldn't you like to be able to relax and do nothing? Wouldn't it be great? Wouldn't it be great to be nothing? I'd hate to be in Vesselina's place, graduating, trying to pass the last few tests so that she could become a doctor, and having everybody around her sort of engaged in that path with her. But now she doesn't want to do that anymore. She wants freedom. Freedom from that. Freedom from that path. And it's hard to be on that path because it occupies your entire life. And sometimes even older people don't break out of that need to identify with causes or people or ideas. But just to become stupid and have nothing that you want or nothing to do except to feel your existence. And realizing even that is nothing. And get a sense of relief even out of that discovery. Okay, time for questions now. Even if you think you would be exposing yourself as somebody who didn't understand what I was talking about, because I'm talking about nothing and you want to ask clever questions to how to get to nothingness. So go ahead, ask, as Robert would say, a stupid question. We'll indulge you. Who has a stupid question? Who wants to know something? Who wants to be someone? And yes, Vasilina, if I were in your place, I'd just walk away. But I'm not you. You have to make that decision for yourself. And from where I am, finish the task and leave nothing undone in your path until it's resolved, either by becoming a doctor or not, out of just relaxing too much. Whatever happens, it's all right. Don't let people force you to do something you don't want to do. Anybody have a question?
I have one.
Yes.
I meditated this morning. And
What?
I meditated this morning. Meditated.
Oh, okay.
I did a meditation this morning and went to a nice place where I felt good and a lot of energy in my hands, for instance. And when I get to a good place, it just feels as though it has to be expressed. It has to come out of me. Like, for instance, the hands, they feel hot and they feel good. And I'm thinking, I need to be doing something with these hands. You know, something useful needs to be done with these hands when they're in that state. You know, so I feel like I cannot keep that to myself. It has to be shared. It has to come out of me in some way. And I don't think it's because I want to be well, maybe it is because I want to be special, but it just feels so good that it feels natural to want to share it or to want to express it or to want it to do something with that.
It can be both. It can serve multiple purposes. To be able to share it as just sharing, or to be able to accomplish something with your hands and find joy in that too. It depends on where you are in your spirituality. If you read the stories about Zen people or those who are used to a monastic tradition, they become more and more useless and brag about how useless they've become. So what you feel, what you experience is fine. Just keep going. Keep doing it. Because you do feel all kinds of benefits out of meditation, and you think other people would find it brings happiness, but the thing is, other people aren't you. They may not benefit from meditation because they have no inclination to do meditation. They listen to you talk about meditation and they think you're nuts. Like nearly everybody thought Robert was nuts because he was so gone. He was not of this world. Even his wife said that she expected flying saucers to land sometime in their yard and take him back to his planet. His own wife of 40 years had that idea. We used to talk about it all the time. She'd call me. I want to know what's going on with Robert and Satsang and things like that. I think she was looking to see if he had a girlfriend in Satsang separate from her, but I'll give her the benefit of the doubt and not claim that was the case, but it probably was. Any other questions? Vasilina, you're laughing. Do you have a question or a comment?
Yeah, I have questions for you.
Okay.
Maybe 3. So, So, first thing first, why were you gone for 2 months?
Because doing satsang became burdensome for me. I wanted to do nothing. On the other hand, I know that satsang can help people, so I came back. And then when I was away for the 2 months or whatever it was, I did nothing. I became even more useless than I am now by doing satsang. I became nothing. I became useless. I didn't even have to get out of bed. I could have laid in bed all day and found great joy in it, except when I felt the need to have a cup of coffee. But what's the next question?
Well, because last Wednesday, like this Wednesday, we talked with with people who are here, with the people from Satsang that maybe you would want to do a one day a week satsang, or is it still good for you to do satsang twice a week?
I'm still wrestling with that. But right for now, I'll try twice a week. The thing is, the problem that I have is I have less and less to say, and I have to rely more or less on my memory of what satsangs were like to motivate anything kind of movement towards doing anything. I like being nothing and teaching people how to become nothing, but how do you teach nothingness? How do you do it? Robert did it by talking about nothingness all the time and letting go and doing nothing. And whenever somebody had a problem about doing something or feeling something, he'd tell them, let it alone, forget it. He would say, if you knew what you were really, you'd be the happiest person in the world. But nobody wanted that. Nobody really believed that. They wanted, though, what he had, or what we thought he had. And what Robert offered, really, outside of satsang, if you just sat with him at lunch, or visited him with just his family, he really wanted nothing. He was just there, and he was happy. The thing is, I still feel happiness in doing satsang. Because I haven't surrendered everything yet. I have still things to work out. And I do need things to work out because I'm 81. And I feel like there's some offering I can do as long as I'm not strained too much by it. It's really hard to think of something to say about nothingness when you see that's all that there is nothingness. How can you not see that? But most people don't see that. So how do you teach them to see nothingness and doing nothing? Now, I think you think that the idea of doing nothing is a great thing. You wish you didn't have anything to do and just live in your apartment in Plovdiv, enjoying yourself with your 2 cats. I completely agree with that. There's no need to do anything, but then you have to figure out how you're going to make a living for yourself. And you're making steps towards that by selling things. Karima's doing that too. She's bought an enormous amount of shit here. Look at all those boxes. And there are 2 rooms filled with them. Like that. I have no idea what she's going to do with it. I haven't questioned her because I really don't want to find out about it. I'll let her do that. Any other questions? Maxie, do you have a question? Oh, there we go. There got a hand. Yes. I can't see your name. My glasses aren't on. Claudine? Something like that?
Hello.
Yes.
I think
the answer is no.
Oh.
What's the question?
The question is, I'd be quite happy if you just sat there and said nothing. And maybe some other people would be quite happy with that as well, I think.
But the thing is, that way is a shot in the dark. Because people who haven't practiced meditation may be wondering what you're doing in that place of emptiness. Are you really doing nothing? And you think that that's what they would try to do then, just being silent in order to get to your place. You have to give directions in terms of where you're going, an idea of where you're going, to sort of regulate how you can live your life in order to obtain the maximum amount of relaxedness and peace in your life. You have to have a guide of some sort, some red lights or green lights somewhere, or some phrases on the wall somewhere that tell you, go fuck yourself, or whatever else they want to tell you. If you go do that would be wonderful too. You could announce how you went and fucked yourself. And maybe you become a spiritual leader by telling people how to fuck themselves. I don't know. Did I answer your question?
Well, it was just an option. If you liked it, I don't mind really. I don't mind what you say or don't say, or if you sit,
Oh, good.
Thank you.
Maxie, have you anything to say? Hidden in darkness, like you are?
No.
Okay.
I just missed Satsang, I guess, because we had a change from daylight savings time to regular time in Austria, and you didn't. So I thought Satsang would just begin, and now it ends.
Imagine yourself becoming nothing, becoming nobody, no identity, not even having a body. You're just a bump on a log, sitting, doing nothing, and finding immense happiness in that. Being happy doing nothing. How would anybody know that's how you can be permanently happy? Is by becoming dumb as a rock. How many here strive to become dumb as a rock? Congratulations. I grant you all absolution from ever doing anything again. If you have cats, you should pet them, though, and feed them very well. They'll reward you nicely. Because cats are nothing. They do nothing. They follow their instincts. It's smart people that get fucked up by their minds. Or people who want to appear smart by giving themselves a mission, a path, like becoming a monk or becoming a medical doctor or becoming a pilot, whatever. Don't get your happiness from any accomplishment, single accomplishment, except learning how to be nothing. I'm happy for you if you think that doing whatever work you're doing is benefiting not only you, but the world. If that's what makes you happy, far out, believe that. But in the end, to be able to give up everything, give up every aphorism, give up all spiritual and physical directions. Don't even listen to your doctor anymore. Don't pay attention to any of them. You'll be so happy. You'll die right away, but you'll be very happy. Just kidding. Maybe you'll die, maybe you won't. At 81, I think about that. And it's not going to be that different from life for me, because I don't do anything. It's not a time of slowing down for me. If anything, it'll be more movement. Any other questions? And if you want something to read, I don't encourage people to read Ramana, because his teachings are so filled with Sanskrit stuff, Sanskrit concepts. It'd be better to read stuff by Robert, or who else can I think of? I can't think of anybody right now. There are many teachers that are minimalists in terms of what to do and what to say. Read them and why they feel like they feel. What was their experience? My experience is of unending happiness. I can't remember a time now, or I can remember times, but I can't remember any time recently when I've been in a period of either being busy or being unhappy. I don't do anything, and I enjoy it. I've become useless, even to myself. But I'm happy. Robert was kind of useless, and he recognized it. He said his talks were useless, but people liked them, so he talked. He told me the only reason he was a teacher was he needed money for his family. So he sold his soul to his students so that Nicole could have some food and an apartment to live in. But I don't think he would be bothered if he was forced to live on the streets. In him, I found such a complete rest, and as an enigma. Like, how the fuck are you? What do you got? What have you attained? What is it? And a lot of times, he would just hold my head with his hand over it and look into my eyes. And I'd get really restless. What's he doing? Why is he doing it? Maybe I should do it back to him. And after looking at me and staring at me for a long time, and it wasn't that long, maybe 30 seconds, 40 seconds, he just rubbed my head like this and then say, "You're all right, Ed, you're all right." But I had a feeling he was just saying that. He really thought I was being useless. So, I don't know. But I noticed that he had no value on anything of the world. Any other questions or announcements? Is anybody here going to announce themselves to the world as fully enlightened and we should follow you? Adam, were you going to announce that?
Unfortunately, no. No one would believe it. Kind of following up on Vesselina and Claudine there, just wanted to let you know how much you're loved and appreciated. And that we're glad that when you do show up, and we know it's selfish of us to try and drag you here, but we all really love and appreciate when you give of yourself in this way.
Are you talking to me or Vesselina? You mentioned her. I can see, looking at Vesselina, you could say, hey, I love how you look and feel. But me?
Well, Vesselina was, she's being a little more demanding, I guess, and wanting to know your reasons, and I guess we all do too, but just want to say that we appreciate you. And when you're not here, it's like the hornet's nest has been kicked and everyone's frantically running around trying to figure out what's going on, but we're just so happy to have you. And
good, thank you so much for saying that.
And in our quest to be useful in some sort, I guess, Chris and myself and Mark and a few of us have taken on ourselves a project. Just wanted to let you know we've been talking about kind of archiving a lot of the old Satsangs and your teachings and stuff. They're kind of spread out over a lot of different websites and YouTube channels and stuff. And we thought it might be a good idea to kind of gather everything into one place for easy access and for, I guess, for posterity. And I just want to let you know about that and kind of get your permission.
I appreciate it.
Is that something you would like us to do, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead. Sing my praises to the universe. Increase the size of satsang 1,000-fold. Give us something to do.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Hey, Ed, nice to see you again. Thanks for coming back. You were talking about how Robert's placed no value on anything in the world.
Who's talking? I can't see the mouth moving.
It's me, Jackson. Hey.
That's you, okay. The person in gray,
yeah,
with a gray background.
Gray man, but also a sleeping cat right there.
Wonderful.
He's enlightened. But yeah, saying Robert had no value on anything in the world kind of just it just made me think about how we are always just constantly putting value on like everything, jumping from one thing to the other that has so much value, and just everything. It's kind of insane. I didn't really think about that a whole lot till you mentioned that. Even doing nothing. Oh, this is where the real value is. It's crazy.
Why is that? Because doing nothing, we realize our true selves. And that can't be given a label. What we are cannot be given a label. You're not that which is beyond everything. You're not the universe. You're not the self or any of these other concepts. You just become useless. You don't have concepts anymore to teach. You can teach about it in a sense, in a roundabout way. But the only instruction is shut the fuck up and do nothing. How many can take that? So what we do is we create ashrams where people come and sit and do nothing. And doing nothing is valued. it's enforced inside the center. You go to a Zen center, it's very silent. People don't talk to each other that much. You know, I really enjoyed Maizumi Roshi. Japanese Roshis back then, the original ones, didn't tend to be very friendly. They're kind of aloof and distant. But Maizumi was a regular kind of person, lost in both worlds. I mean, he was in touch with both worlds, the Zen world that he was a master in, and the human world, which he was a master of too. And a lot of people thought it was shocking when he drowned in his, what do they call hot baths, hot tubs, whatever they are, because he was so drunk. And he died in his bathtub because he was drunk. Now, I didn't happen to think that was a bad way to go. Hell no. But everybody else I told him about, they thought it was so horrible that he wasn't a very good teacher if he killed himself by drinking, drowning in his own bathtub. That's not a winning way to approach life. But he was a very quiet person. He really didn't try to be anything. And I really appreciated him as a teacher, even though he was kind of intellectual. And that's the way of the Soto tradition. They're known as the intellects in the Zen world, while the Rinzai were the dummies that just meditated and they didn't say anything. They had just hit people with sticks and said "kots" or things like that. But the Soto priests tended to be educated and well-read, as was he. Anybody else? Anything else? Good. Just go in peace and disappear slowly over a period of years. Take care of your animals and your loved ones. Be kind to them. Be kind to everybody. And if you have any missions that you're living, you can always say goodbye to them and do nothing. I'm going to create a race of losers. We're joyful losers. We'll have a colony of people that does nothing. Maybe the Red Cross will come and take care of us, feed us, so forth, because we don't want to do anything anymore. We'll be the ultimate Zen place. You think that's a joke? No, it's not a joke. Okay, yeah, it's a joke. Take care. I love you all. Bye-bye. Bye.
Recording stopped.